In this video, I help a business owner on how to think and start implementing AI into their business. They are a brick and mortar store with 3 locations, and this is some of what we walk through on how to start with AI. So if you're a business owner thinking and knowing that you should be implementing AI into your business, hopefully this is helpful. Okay, so this I will be emailing it to you after as well. This is kind of just something we'll run through, and I'll show you actually how to set this up properly with your own ChatGPT space. So it's going to be a bit hands-on as well. Catherine, if you have it handy, by all means, you can actually just start going through some things I'm going to be mentioning. But really, when it comes to stuff, a good way to think about this is just it's essentially like a brilliant new assistant. Okay. The way I like to look at it is like you have basically a Harvard graduate at your fingertips. Okay, so this thing is super smart. It's brilliant. The problem is, the main thing is it doesn't have any context around your business. It has no context around your life, right? So how do you basically combine those two so that you are having a Harvard-like employee plus the context, plus your business, plus all that other stuff that helps you actually move forward, right? Because if I were just to say some generic thing about, for instance, your business, Catherine, it just won't pick it up, right? It's going to basically search the web and it's going to give me some fluff or just some information that's not really that valuable to what we're trying to do. With AI, the biggest blocker we tend to find is that you are the bottleneck, meaning that you don't know how to communicate with properly. And when I say you, I just mean general population. People don't know how to communicate with it. People don't know how to really use it, right? Because again, it is so new. It really just came on the scene about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one thing. It's from Harvard. It's fantastic. And you want it to, again, start using the context of whatever you're trying to accomplish. And we're going to get into that as we go further down. Basically, there's 4 things you kind of want to ask yourself when approaching a task, for instance, or just using this in general. One is, am I going to do this again? So, for instance, there are some one-off tasks, right? So, for instance, if you are emailing and you're emailing a supplier constantly, well, that's something you're doing day to day or week by week. Okay, that we have to take into consideration. If it's a one-off thing, like what should I eat for dinner today? And you're like, whatever, that's totally fine. You can use a chat. And we're actually gonna walk you through how to use this. Another great thing is, does this need to be right or does it just need to exist? So if you're pulling from prices, if you're pulling from gowns, and this needs like you are sending this to a client, then we need that specific information. If it's just, again, what am I eating for dinner? We could care less about what it really gives us. Next, what I mind if the customer read what I typed. So the main goal, I tell my clients, I tell a lot of people, the main goal with AI is for you to step back and for you to be allowed to deliver on higher leverage tasks. And to me, my understanding of business is that when it comes to higher leverage tasks, it's fulfilling on the client and client facing, right? So communication is obviously it's a high leverage task because I need to communicate between clients. So you can automate that, but there are patterns that AI has that some people, this will change in the future, but some people, that's why AI slop, some people still think, oh wow, Catherine is emailing me with AI, right? Or Catherine doesn't care about my gown. She's just basically putting it off to AI. So going back to what I originally said is that you want to use AI for those low leverage tasks, and you want to be able to then spend more time on the higher leverage tasks of the business, right? With that being said, you can still automate the emails. Like I suggest you automate a lot of those emails that are coming in, Catherine, specifically speaking to you or anybody. I'll show you how to do that. But again, there are some patterns you want to pick up on. Now, for instance, if it is, if I'm working with you, Catherine, I'm not necessarily going back to that communication. I'm not going to necessarily just use AI, right? I want that to be more human touch, right? I want to communicate with you. But in general, if it's like a supplier, and again, you go through these questions, some are met, some are not met. You go, okay, I can draft that. I'm going to show you how to do this. And then you can focus on other things. And I want you to just imagine too, like you can use AI for pretty much any type of anything. But it comes back to these frameworks because these frameworks are kind of what set the foundation to have it actually do what you want it to do. And the problem you have to realize is that AI is a bit of an aggregate of the entire web. So that includes the good and the bad. So usually you just kind of get the average, unfortunately. Now, what I always do say is that if you have a skill set already, that plus AI, you're in like the 90th percentile. All
Okay.
right. So you're like way above the average because not too many people are using these tools. If you
Mm.
have, let's just say, a 1 out of 10 skill set, that probably gets you again maybe to the 4 or 5. The difficult part, again, I'll keep referencing this. The difficult part is actually finding kind of the through line with what it's giving you. And that's where kind of the strategy or the expertise comes from, right? So like for instance, we can automate a bit of email, but then I want you to look at it and be like, okay, does this make sense? Is this right? All that other stuff. This is kind of just very baseline what we're going over today. But really, there is a bit of a back and forth between knowing and understanding what tools to use. We have new chat. We have pull requests we can completely avoid. We have sites, which we're not really going to use. We have scheduled, which is now when we can actually start scheduling out some tasks, which is awesome. And then we have plugins. We have projects down here, as you can see. And then we have just recent conversations. So what we recommend is just stick with like kind of a competitor or a company, get to know them as best as possible. And then again, usually they're all pretty similar. Okay, the naming convention and maybe the interface is changing, but it's pretty similar. Okay, so what we're gonna do is you start in a new chat essentially here. And again, this pretty much looks exactly on the phone as well. You can add just like you can on the phone. You can add a file. You can do anything in here. Okay. But again, this is kind of just your general layout, and then you have the model. Okay, so down here, obviously, we have the model. Right now, I'm on 5.6. That's their newest model. They do have a bit of a family, they call it here. Um, Again, given the plan you guys are on, this is totally fine. The one thing I will say, depending on the task you're asking it, you can come down to here and you can toggle on effort. Effort just means how much intelligence are you injecting into the task. So if it's
Oh.
like draft me an email, it really doesn't need that much intelligence. We can go light.
But why would you not putting always ultra then?
Because given the usage you guys have, if I just come over here, the usage,
Oh, it take up all the
it takes up
oh
all the
I see.
usage.
Uh,
Yeah. So really what you're going to do is you're going to come to plugins, okay?
yeah.
Plugins on the phone, same exact thing. You can pull up plugins.
Plugins, yeah.
Let me just pull up on my phone here. Yeah. So plugins essentially is just access to your tools, access to everything on your computer. And this is how
Mm,
you're going to pretty much set up the email, okay? So when
okay.
you go to plugins,
Yeah.
as you can see there, there's a bunch of different stuff you use on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want you to do is you're either going to press, well, you can actually just set this up right now. Just tap on Gmail. Yeah. And then you can just, what does it mention? Does it say just try in the chat?
You said install plugin.
Okay, perfect. So install. And as you can see here, like there's hundreds of different tools.
Yeah.
So like
Unlimited.
some of my clients use ClickUp or Notion or Dropbox. There's obviously Chrome, there's presentations, there's Gmail, which is the big one, right? And it
Yeah.
will probably prompt you already for you just to make it super easy for you.
Yeah, it says Gmail on it. Can you see?
Okay, perfect. So that's how you know you're kind of using Gmail. Now, the Gmail you connected it to
Yeah.
is where it has access to.
This is so exciting.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Um, so
I'm
what
gonna
you,
tell
yeah,
my
this is great.
husband something he doesn't know.
That's right. I'm showing you superpowers here. So what you can do is essentially like you can ask for anything. You can say read a conversation I had with Marlon and I'll read it for you. It'll
Oh,
say, you can say even draft an email that I'm sending to whatever. So that
oh,
client you had, for instance, I don't know if it's on that email account, but
yeah, it is.
okay, so the client you had, for instance, you can basically say, look at the name, like you don't even need the email address. Just look at the client's name. So for instance, like look at Catherine's messages. She sent me 6 emails regarding her design she wanted. I need your help drafting an email to her. Okay, so it's connected. This is on desktop. It's connected. I can go try now if I want. And see how it ready prompts. It already gives me a prompt, which is just summarize inbox, draft replies, or process email threads. So right now, I basically just said what Gmail account you connected to, and it gives me. It's always going to say approve, say approve, say approve. So I come in here, I go, okay, approve. So approved. So it's reading the workspace files in Gmail instructions first, then I'll inspect the connected account. to identify, right? So you can come in here and you can see it's basically just doing its things, but doing a bunch of coding on the back. And then it's going to tell me what account I'm connected to. And then you can even see here, I can reconnect it. Now, I will say too, this is the power of having the desktop because on your phone too, it's smaller, it's not as convenient. You want to start using these tools on the desktop. Eventually, you can actually connect it to the desktop. So you can basically just do like I started doing a bunch of work just on my phone because I'm just using voice and then it's connecting to my computer.
Mm.
So like I'll be out grocery shopping and I'm like, hey, do this improvement for me. Hey, do this code for me.
Wow.
And I'll connect to my computer and do that for me.
You working 24/7 then?
Yeah,
Just
that's the only thing too. It's hard to no, well, it's hard to disconnect because
yeah.
there's a lot going on. Because again, you have it so it's so much there, right? So if you think social media is bad, you know, wait for AI anxiety. You can come to plugins and you can pretty much set up whatever you'd like. So again, Google Drive, you just press install and you can basically just connect it to any email. That's how you're going to connect them, okay? What you also can do is that's just how you install it, and then you're connected essentially to that account. All you have to do is just come to Gmail and you go connected, you disconnect it. As you can see here, I have many things installed. You know, I have GitHub, I have Gmail, PDFs, plugin management, I have Vercel, vidIQ, X, Y, and Z. So those are plugins. Those are connections to outside tools. And then you have essentially skills. Okay, now you can see I don't have any skills here. Skills are just expertise you're going to basically just bundle together. An example would be let's just say HR or let's just say accounting. So you hire an accountant, right? Going to do
Yeah.
your stuff yearly. Let's just say you were an accountant and you go, okay, how do I bundle all my knowledge I know over the years of being an accountant into this thing? So that not only can I use it, but Catherine can use it, Jimena can use it, I can use it. So that's great. So you can do it two ways. Either you can come into the skill folder. It's a lot easier these days now. What you can do is basically have a normal conversation about anything with AI. And then you can say bundle it into a skill. Okay, so conversationally is the best way to do it. On the top it says plugins here.
Yeah.
Just
Oh.
at the very
Oh, yeah.
top. Press the
Oh, I
press
see.
the title and you'll see skills.
Yeah.
Just have a normal conversation. So all you would do is just start a normal chat.
Like come out of that
Yeah, yeah,
thing
yeah.
and then just start talking. That's
Yeah,
it.
just start a normal chat. And then
Yeah.
at the end of that talking session, you'll just say,
Yeah.
hey, develop this as a skill. So we're going to make a project. This is kind of the context. So what you're going to do is choose a project, right? You're going to go new project. Rose is here. And this is basically your context house. See this here?
Yeah.
So you can add a bunch of files, right? And this
Oh, like
again is where
pages.
that context aspect comes into play. So for
Okay.
instance, if you have like pricing guidelines, if you have like brand tone, brand voice,
Okay.
you can just basically inject all that context so it can
Okay.
pull and then drop the emails for you. This is the document here.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you can see, I'm in the project, which is LaRose. It's a
Yeah.
local, which just means on my computer, and
Yeah.
then main you don't even have to worry about.
Yeah.
But this project, and you can just basically come here and you'll start to see it once I pull this through. So all you're gonna say is something like this. So you're just basically you can tap on the mic here and you can just say, "This is context for my business, La Rose. I just want you to kind of go over this document, completely analyze it. This will help me create draft emails that I will send to my clients."
Oh.
Okay. So then it's gonna just go through. As you can see, we're on 5.6 light.
Yeah.
And then again, so we're in approved plan. So it's going to basically give us the plan here. I'm just going
Yeah.
to say approve, approve. And then as you can see here, eventually this will populate as LaRose. And this starts to be your context where you are now getting that Harvard individual, but now you have the context to work with it.
Oh.
Okay. And as you can see, it contains no business files because I didn't give it anything.
Yeah.
But you want to give it as much context as possible. This is where
Okay.
like
So
any
under the project.
Yeah, because again, sometimes coming back to this, you remember the four questions?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to be using it constantly, then you want to make it a project.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Again, if it's just a one-off, like, hey, what are we eating for dinner? It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I can just use a normal chat, right?
Yeah.
But if I want context and I want to keep coming back to that project, I go LaRose. Again, it's going to kind of walk you through like, hey, how do you want to sound? How do you talk to your clients? This is where you want to give it some emails that you've sent out that did really well. Recommended drafting framework, right? Boom, 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 boom. Overall conclusion, this document gives me enough context to draft strong first versions of routine LaRose client emails. Then you would say, look through my emails. Let me know what client or what prospect is emailing me and then help me draft an email. And then it will just draft it. And then you can go to your email inbox and see it drafted. And then you can read it over and then just send. Because over time, it'll start refining too.
Yeah.
Because again, that's important, right? That's important like you don't just want to send any, you don't want it just drafting anything,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
You want to have, again, the way you write it, all this other stuff, all that context, all that nuance, right? So where's the nuance? And you want to kind of grab that and inject it into here. Again, this
Yeah.
is not perfect, right? These are not perfect.
Yeah.
That's why you need still the human in the loop, as we say. It's
Yeah.
not perfect, but it gets you like 80% of the way there.
Wow.
And so if you're spending, let's just say 4 hours on email, and it's taking you away from the main things of the business, then okay, how do we find out a system that works that we can do this? So you connect it to email, you have your projects, you have all the data in the context, and basically you just say, help me draft some emails so you don't have to do it. Again, just speak to it like, hey, I'm actually signed up for some newsletters. Whatever come through, I just want you looking at potential prospects. Usually they're inquiring about dresses or some of the services I have. And again, that's why the context is important because it's going to understand the difference between some other business sending you information than the prospect. So we have basically your plugins, right?
Yeah.
You can connect it to any tool you're using in the business. You have your skills, which is just taking
Yeah.
expertise, bottling them together, and then
Yeah.
everyone can use them. Now, what you can do is you have schedule, which now you can actually schedule these things out. So, what you can have, and I mean, pretty much across all businesses or whatever, there's something called obviously a daily brief, right?
Yeah.
So what you can do is, and they give you these options too, right? They give you suggestions because they realize what their users are typically doing. So for instance, the daily brief, weekdays at 8, I'm going to show you how to set this up, but start each weekday with a summary of your calendar, unread email, and priorities. I can just click on this and then I can set it up my own way.
Oh, wow.
So I can say run again, I can say run in a new chat or an existing chat. I
Yeah.
can say project, right? So I'm going to go back to LaRose.
Yeah.
I'm going to set it LaRose, right?
Yeah.
Model, what model do I want to use, reading, and then how do you want it to repeat? And you have to remember too, you can just talk to the model like, "Hey, I want to schedule this thing out." So
Yeah.
for instance, for you, I'd be like, "Hey, I get 100 emails every day. They're a pain to look at. I need you to basically tell me what I'm getting emailed about. And then I need you to draft those emails for me in my email inbox. And please know the difference between prospects and just basically spam. Okay. And then you can schedule that, right? You can be like, hey, schedule it. And then you can say every morning at 9 a.m., I want this in my inbox. Or what you can do is usually the daily brief, just to be clear, like, and again, you can make your own, but
Yeah.
they give you them here. But a daily brief is just giving you a PDF or a rundown of everything. It's an assistant at that point, right? And it's going to be like, hey, you need to reply here, here, here. This is what you didn't do. This is what you did do. Then you have your weekly review, and then you have your follow-up monitor or whatever. And then you can just see what's active, what's paused, whatever. Okay.
Wow.
And then obviously you can create it here in the corner. So let's set up a scheduled task together. So
Wow.
this is how you take, I don't know how many hours you spend per
Yeah.
week in the inbox.
I can lie on the beach without worrying about 175 emails.
Yeah, and have a Harvard grad basically draft it for you. Now, again, it's not perfect. It's not perfect,
Yeah, of course.
but the biggest thing will be the context,
Yeah.
okay, and having all that information so it can work off of it.
Okay.
Um, so that's the scheduled sections. You have plugins, you have schedules. Now we can really schedule this out just like an employee would potentially. Like, hey, I need you to come in at 2 p.m. to do X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
Like all this is a Harvard employee essentially you're going to start using really. So you just have to be careful of what to build, and that's why you want to come back to the strategy and you want to come back to the higher leverage points because
Yeah.
that's what matters and that's what's going to move your business. You have to be careful too because it is, I believe they call it sycophantic, which just means it agrees with you on everything.
Yeah, I know.
So there is a bit of a thing where it's like there is a bit of a disconnect between reality
Oh,
because
yeah.
again, it hasn't really lived, right? It has no lived experience just yet. Um,
Doesn't have a soul.
Yeah,
Not
so
like that.
yeah, so don't automate the entire business. That's why I just say,
No.
so yeah, and it's always good too to kind of like push back if it does say like, hey, this is a great idea. Be like, hey, poke holes in this. Where are you seeing things not looking right or whatever?
Yeah.
So there is kind of that strategy, but again, going back to the main thesis, it's a Harvard grad, very, very smart, but you got to know how to use it.